But getting in
Yeah.
the business, I know for you, Gorilla Monsoon and his son had a hand in this. How did this all come to be?
Yeah, for sure. When I was like 15, 16, I used to work for Gorilla Monsoon, who owned a ring from Vince Sr. So Vince Sr. and then Gorilla owned a territory in New Jersey, South Jersey area, Philadelphia, in Pennsylvania areas and so forth, and up in the Maryland area, Salisbury, Maryland. And like everybody had a territory at the time, whether it was Bruno Sammartino, the South had their territories. So when Vince took over, you know, he kind of took over everything at that point. But at the time when I first started, it was the summer times when I was 15, 16, setting up the rings and making $50 for the robes, $50 for the ring, $50 for timekeeping, $50 for playing music, and like $200 a night was like for a 15-year-old. I mean, they got me started, Joey. So and then here come the programs at that point. And I'm like, well, fuck. I'm like, they told me Victor's like, you got to sell programs because Tony Chimmel wouldn't sell them. Joey was refereeing at the time, with Dick Worley in the area and Dick Kroll. And I was like, oh man, what am I going to make off of programs? He's like, they were $1. He was like, oh, you're going to make 10 cents off the dollar. I'm like, man, it ain't nothing. I'm like, shit. I'd go out and sell 3,000 programs at the Spectrum or off the boardwalk in Wildwood, New Jersey, or with Andre the Giant on the cover, or
Yeah.
Big John Studd, or Tony Gurria and Rick Martel, and then I'd make $300 on selling programs plus the $200 I was making for the crew stuff, and setting up the ring and during the show, because I would do the programs before the show, blow, and intermission, and do the blowout for a little bit at the end, and then come back and tear down. So it got me hooked, and then I was a machinist for a while in school, a welder and machinist, and I did that. And I was building test missiles for the Navy my senior year, getting out at noon and working all day. And then my dad got sick at 18. He took a massive stroke, and I asked Gorilla to, for a job back. At the time, Vince had owned everything. He took over all the territories. Gorilla was announcing and doing other things for the company. Joey was still refereeing. And then I went back full time because I had to help out the family. So I went, my career was I wanted to play baseball. So I was a hell of a baseball player, good shortstop, good stick. And it just, wrestling took off, man, after like about 18 and a half, almost 19. It just took off for me. And then I started refereeing a couple of years ago. I did crew and production for 20 some years and refereeing and all that. And then the refereeing took off for 30 some years in the business, so it just worked out great. And yeah, I got to hand it to Joey Morel and Gorilla Monsoon, that's for sure,
Wow.
and the family really
So in
took
re-
care of me.
so in reality, it seems like you're a great family man, great son as well. You were doing something for your father, for your family,
Oh yeah,
obviously.
yeah. My mom and had two younger sisters at the time. If I was 18, my sister youngest was 13, the other one was 8. So, he took a massive stroke. He kept the family as whole, but, just couldn't provide for the family as well as he did anymore. He couldn't really go back to work or anything. So, yeah, I had to step up
Wow.
and thankful, for WWE and Vince McMahon and everything gave me a hell of a career for 35 years.
Of course. Now, what were
Yeah.
your first impressions working for the WWF at the time? Put the F
Uh,
back in just for a minute
yeah.
because you're talking about 1989 coming in, I believe, is so you have Hulk Hogan, Ultimate Warrior,
Right.
Macho Man, Demolition, all these over the top characters. What's your first impressions? Because it's like
Right.
signing up for the circus.
Yeah. Well, the first impression was, it was amazing when I was like 13. I went to a baseball camp in Atlanta, and they took us to a wrestling event. And Abdullah the Butcher was the main
Oh,
event,
man.
and he was bleeding all over, juicing, and I'm going. That was like my first wrestling event, and it happened to be, in Atlanta. I'm living in New Jersey, and I'm from New Jersey, and so, and then when I started working when I was 15, it must have been about 82 in the summer times, and 83, and when I started full time, it was in 1985,
Oh, okay.
86.
85. All right.
So yeah,
86.
yeah, 87. I started. Chief J made me a referee. A couple years later, he was tired of New York State Commission referees and all that stuff, and so he said, "Hey, check with Gorilla Monsoon." They said, "Hell yeah, he'd be a good candidate for a referee, and Joey could teach him and help him out," which Joey did as well, and all the talent. So I grew up with the George Animal Steels and all them guys,
Oh,
and
yeah.
Andre, even 85, 86 when I started full time. 89, I made my debut on TV for referee.
Right.
So that was like, you had to pay some dues with crew and referee, and then you had to referee for a while and get used to it and everything. And you had to learn. There's so much to learn in the business. You're not going to grasp this business. There's very few people that grasp it as a wrestler in this business. The Kurt Angles and so forth. That grasp it real quick. And if you're a referee, it takes a while to really learn the business too.